स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. So, while studying the Vedanta philosophy, of course, it's a very brief introduction. Last time we had seen that what is the Advaitha view of the world, which nowadays we have in the words primarily of Shankaracharya, the great Shankara. Earlier also there have been teachers, but their works are not available. So we have seen that according to Shankaracharya, God is immanent as well as transcendent. That He pervades the world, but He is not limited to the world. He also transcends the world. And we have seen that the world, according to him, is a mere appearance because God does not actually change into the world. Because if God had actually changed, then he would be subject to transformation, and anything which is subject to transformation cannot be eternal. While the scriptures describe God as eternal, everlasting, infinite, so all these adjectives would not be valid if God actually changed into the world. So we have had a glimpse of Shankaracharya's view, and I think from the brief discussion we had, we can make out that Shankaracharya's theory of apparent change, not real change, apparent change, which is called Vivarta, and his concepts of Maya, Vidya, and projection or superimposition, which is Adhyasa, we find that they constitute a strong rational foundation of the Advaita theory. So, we have discussed that primarily all the arguments of all the Indian philosophers, they have the scriptures as their basis, always. Whenever they put something, any argument, any logic, they immediately quote some supporting scripture. They don't say believe because I am telling you, they say believe because the Vedas tell you that, and I am just elucidating the teachings of the Vedas. This is the foundation of Indian thought. It is very important, and we always have to remember that. But even those who do not believe, suppose someone says, I don't believe in your Vedas or any scripture, just tell me how logically how your arguments about this apparent change can be supported by logic. So those who do not believe in any scripture, etc., but they try to understand the real nature of the world in the light of common experience and reasoning only, they will also find that Shankaracharya's theory holds good. So they will also appreciate that what this great philosopher has said is logical and it can stand on its own also. So we will now see, we will not quote any scripture, anything in support, just pure logic, pure reasoning. And we will see how even with just pure reasoning as our support, we find that Shankaracharya's theory is so logical and rational. So now, to start our discussion, we have to go back to the theory of Sankhya theory of causation, which is called Satkaryavad. So we have discussed this theory in detail when we were discussing the Sankhya philosophy. So we have to get a review of that because it may not be so fresh in our minds. Because the Sankhya theory as well as Shankaracharya's theory of apparent change, that has this theory of causation, Satkaryavada, as its basis. So it is very, very important to understand this. So we will just see the brief points of that. So Satkarya consists of two words, Sat and Karya. Sat is the same Sat of Satchidananda, means pure being or existence. And Karya means the manifested effect. So the whole universe is nothing but cause and effect. Karya means effect in Sanskrit. So Sat Karya, this theory asserts that something which is Sat, which is true, cannot originate from something which is Asat, that is non-existence. Non-existence cannot give birth to anything at all. This is the main theory which is put by this Satkaryavada. So in short, it just says that nothing which did not exist previously can come into existence. As simple as that. Nothing can come from zero. So this theory, as we have seen before, is describing the relation of an effect to its material cause. See, we make ornaments from gold, silver, etc. So gold, silver, all these things are the cause, material cause, from which all these ornaments are made. So now the question comes, does the effect originally exist in the material cause prior to its production? Effect is all the necklace, earrings, etc. and the cause is gold. Now the question is, do all these effects, all the ornaments, already exist in the gold and silver before they are produced? That is the question, which Satkaryavada answers. So, some schools of philosophy, like the Nyaya philosophy, they answer the question in the negative. They say that the effect cannot be said to exist before it is produced. Because they say that suppose you say that the necklace and earring already exists in gold, so why go to all the trouble of making the necklace and all that? Then just wear the gold. So they say this cannot be, that the effect exists in the cause itself. There are other arguments also, but we have already discussed that. We won't go into that now. But Sankhya and Vedanta, they uphold the theory of Satkaryavada. They say no. The effect always, it already existed in the cause. Because if any effect and its material cause is carefully examined, it is found that the effect is nothing more than the cause. Suppose we make a pot out of clay, or a ring out of gold. So, if we examine, we will see that the pot is nothing but the clay, and the ring is actually nothing but the gold. So, effect is inseparable from its material cause. The ring does not exist apart from the gold. The pot does not exist apart from the clay. Effect cannot exist without its cause. We cannot separate the pot from the clay nor the ring from the gold. So, since this is the fact, it is not reasonable to think that the effect is something new which was not present before. It is not logical. It always existed in the cause, it was just manifested. In fact, we cannot even think of a non existing entity coming into existence. If we just try to imagine something coming out of nothing, it is impossible. We cannot imagine because it cannot happen. So, the activity of the efficient cause, we have seen what is the efficient cause? The potter. Suppose a potter is making a pot out of clay. The potter is the efficient cause, the clay is the material cause. A goldsmith is making ornaments out of gold. So the goldsmith is the efficient cause, the gold is the material cause. So activity of the efficient cause, the potter of the goldsmith, cannot produce any new substance. It only manifests the form of the substance concealed previously. So the ring was already in the gold, but it was concealed. So the goldsmith just manifests that form which was concealed. So the effect must be admitted to be non-different from the cause. This is the view of the Advaitha. Now we have seen that this theory of Satkaryavada has two different forms. First is the theory of real change, which is called Parinamavada, and the second is the theory of apparent change, which is Shankaracharya's theory. So real change means those who advocate real change, they say that the cause actually changes into the effect. There is real change. God actually changes into the world. But Vivartavada, the theory of apparent change, says that no, this is not true. The change of the cause into the effect is only apparent. It is not real. God or Brahman does not become really transformed into the world produced by him, but he remains actually the same, while we, because of our ignorance, we think that he undergoes actual change and becomes the world. This is the thing. So, Sankhya and Vedanta. Sankhya advocates real change, Vedanta advocates apparent change. But both of them, they depend upon the theory of Satkaryavada, which says that the cause is not different from the effect. The gold is not different from the ring or necklace. The clay is not different from the pot or any other thing which may be manufactured out of that. So both Sankhya and Vedanta uphold the theory of Satkaryavada, but there is a difference, as we have seen. Shankaracharya says to those who follow Sankhya, he says, yes, you uphold Satkaryavada, we also uphold Satkaryavada. But unfortunately, you don't realize the full implication of Satkaryavada. Shankaracharya says, because You also say that the effect exists previously in the material cause, but you say that there is a real change of the material into the effect, since the material assumes a new form. What does Sankhya say? That the gold changes actually into the necklace. Why? Because we see a new form, the form of the necklace or the form of the ring. So they say that from our eyes we can see with our eyes that there is a real change. Shankaracharya says no. He says if you say that just with the change of form something new has come into existence, then you yourself are denying Satkaryavada. Because Satkaryavada says that nothing new can come into existence at all, which did not exist in the cause. So now we are stepping into finer grounds. Please keep your Tylenols handy. Yeah. So, what does Shankaracharya say in response to Sankhya? Sankhya says that, yes, Satkaryavada is there, but we say that the effect, the cause is actually transformed into the effect. Gold is actually transformed into a necklace because the form of the necklace is different from that of pure gold. Now, Shankaracharya says, if you say that the form which was not there has been now created, you are denying Satkaryavada, because you are saying that the form is something absolutely new. And the doctrine of Satkaryavada, that nothing which did not exist previously can come into existence, breaks down. So if the grounds on which this doctrine stands are sound, then we must be prepared to accept all that logically follows from it. Then we have to admit that nothing new can come out. So, form is not something real. It cannot be real. But Sankhya says, how can we deny the perceived fact that the effect is having a new form? We are seeing with our eyes. How can you deny this realization which everybody has? Shankaracharya says, I don't deny the perception. I don't deny. I don't deny that we perceive that the necklace has a new form. But I only say that the form has no reality of its own. If we closely consider, we will see that the form is but a state of the material or substance and cannot be separated from that even in thought. If it was a real entity, then we could separate it. No, two real entities can always be separated. But he says, can you separate the form of the necklace from the necklace? Is it possible? It's not possible. Even in thought you cannot do. So, whatever status in reality a form may possess is in virtue of its substance only. We have no reason to interpret the perception of a change in form as a change in reality. This is the thing. We are perceiving a change in form, there can be no doubt. The house is made of wood, the wood has changed form, the necklace has changed form, the gold has changed form, becomes necklace, earrings, any other thing. We are seeing. Shankaracharya does not deny, but he only says that this change in form is not a change in reality. On the contrary, he says that in spite of changes in form, a substance is recognized by us as identical entity. Change in form does not change the substance, we all know. If a person is sitting down, he's standing, he's running, he's walking, the forms of the person have changed. But if John is running, John is walking, John is sitting, do we say that John has changed? He is the same John. So you cannot say that a change in form implies a change in reality. Not only that, if we examine closely, we will see that the change in form is actually just an apparent change. We cannot grant any distinct reality to this form. Because if we granted a distinct reality, if we would say that the form is a separate reality and the substance is a separate reality, then we would be admitting two distinct realities. So, form is a separate reality, substance is a separate reality. If there are two distinct realities, then something has to connect them. Where is the connection? We don't see any connection. And we do not have any idea of difference between cause and effect, substance and qualities, and other pairs, like we see a difference between two separate things, a horse and a buffalo, or two different persons, or two different houses. We see before us, there are two different things. If we have to connect them, we have to join them by a third entity. But with form, with the substance and its form, do we see any two separate entities? Do we see the form as separate from the substance so that a third entity may be required to join them? We don't see. We see that the form cannot exist without the substance. It cannot therefore be a separate reality. So this is what Shankaracharya says in reply to Sankhya's theory of real change. He say you say that a substance, just because it changes its form, actually changes. There is a real change. We say no. This change cannot be real. Because the form is not something new which has come into existence. It is not something new at all. It is one with the effect. So God also, when He changes into the universe, there is no real change in God. Because change in form does not mean a change, actual change in the substance. This is what Shankaracharya says. But there are again objections raised against this, which we will see, and we will also see what his answer is. So now the Sankhya people say, okay, you say that the changing objects is an appearance, this change in appearance. Now we ask you, if all this change is an appearance, what is the substance or reality which appears to us in various forms? I repeat, Sankhya says we admit, okay, just for the sake of argument, we admit that all these forms are mere appearances. There is no real change. But what is the substance or reality which appears to us in various forms then? What is the substance? You tell us. You say that the gold actually does not change into the necklace. You say that the clay actually does not change into the pot. It is just a change in form. Now we ask you, then what is the substance behind all these changes? So if you say that the clay is the substance for the pot, then we say, but the clay is not the substance for the necklace. So if you say that all these changes are mere apparent, then you have to find the real substance behind all these changes. See, this is a very subtle point. Again, I will just repeat. See, ordinarily, we call anything which is the bearer of some qualities as a substance. Okay? Anything which has qualities is a substance. A ring has qualities, it is round, it has weight, it is a substance. A pot is a substance, it has a shape, etc. It has some qualities. But you say that the qualities of a pot have no reality apart from the pot. The qualities cannot subsist in shunya, in vacuum. They have to be associated with the substance. So, quality of the pot has no reality apart from its cause, which is the clay, which is the real substance of which the pot is only one form of manifestation. Now, if you say that all the forms in the world are only apparent, then you have to find one substance from which all these forms are coming. If you say clay is a separate substance, gold is a separate substance, then you will be admitting duality, because then you will be saying there are infinite substances in the world. But you say that there is only one reality from which everything has come, which has apparently changed into all this. So now we ask you that, according to you, if the clay is the cause of the pot and the gold is the cause of the ring, you should remember that clay itself is liable to modification. Clay cannot be the ultimate cause. Clay is also coming from something. So it cannot be the real substance. If you say gold is the cause of the ring, gold is not the ultimate cause. Gold can also be transformed. So neither the clay is the ultimate cause nor the gold is the ultimate cause. So anything in the universe you see, even the cause is subject to change. This house is made of wood. Maybe they had brought big pieces of wood, but those were also the effect of some cause. So you are saying, actually, Sankhya is telling Advaita that you are saying that behind all these causes, there is one cause from which everything is emanating. That cause, only that one cause, is changing, apparently changing into all these forms. If all these forms are just appearances, there has to be one substance underlying all objects of the world, which is the real substance. This logically follows. It can't be denied. It is difficult, but if we hear it again and again, we can understand what they are trying to say. So Shankaracharya says in reply, yes, you have taken the words from my mouth. We also say that yes, there is something underlying all objects of the world, which is the only real cause of everything, the ultimate cause. But it is not something which has any specific form. If it had any form, it would be limited. Then it would not be the ultimate cause of everything. So it has to be formless. Then what is that substance? Now the problem arises. What is that substance? What is that substance which has no form and which is the apparent cause of everything in the universe. How can you trace wood, clay, gold, innumerable things of the universe? How can you trace to one cause? What is that cause then? How can one substance be the cause of everything? It is impossible. Shankaracharya says it is impossible because we are not thinking in the correct way. Our minds are bound with name and form. So when we think of something as a cause, we are always thinking of a form. But it is possible if that ultimate substance does not have a form. So Sankhya says, okay, then tell us what is that substance. This answer is absolutely brilliant, but we cannot grasp with our mind. Shankaracharya says the answer is, what is the formless and eternal cause of everything in the universe? He says it is pure existence. There cannot be any other answer. It is pure existence. It is existence which is appearing as all these objects. Appearance which is having many forms, but these are all apparent forms. So pure existence, not of any specific form, but existence pure and simple, is what is common to all the objects in the universe. And if we just think this is the only possible answer, because existence is revealed in the perception of every object. As soon as we see anything, we know that it exists first. Then we see the form, etc. That is later. But a substance has to exist if we can see it. So, existence is revealed in the perception of every object, whatever be its nature. And therefore, that only can be the ultimate cause of everything in the universe. Even this is not only external, this is also internal. If we examine the changing states within our mind, I was happy today, I am sad tomorrow, we also find that in every mental state also, every idea, whatever its nature, exists. Only then we can perceive it, no? Only then we can realize it. That idea exists. Even an illusory idea which lacks an external object exists. If I see a snake in a rope, that idea exists, otherwise how I see it? So there will be nothing, there will be no cognition at all if we don't admit of existence. Even in the state of dreamless sleep, that also exists, though no objective consciousness is there. But you have to admit that it exists. So existence is thus found to be the one undeniable reality persisting through all states, internal as well as external. Therefore, that only can be the substance, the material cause of which all determinate objects and mental states are just diverse manifestations. These are all manifestations. From that existence has come clay, from clay comes the pot, from that existence has come wood, from wood comes the house. Wood is one manifestation, house is one manifestation, clay is one manifestation, pot is another manifestation. But the real cause is only one. And this pure existence, which is common cause of the entire world, is itself formless. It has to be formless, though appearing in various forms. It is partless, though appearing as having parts. It is infinite, though it appears in finite forms. So, through this logic, Shankara reaches the conception of an infinite existence as the essence or material cause of the universe. And this he calls the Absolute or Brahman. This is the thing. But the other schools of philosophy don't give up so easily. So they ask, okay, admitted. Now, is this absolute of yours conscious or unconscious? Ordinarily, we think that external objects are unconscious. When we hammer anything, or we say inert objects, we say that it has no life. So this Sankhya says, then does your reality manifest as two types of objects? One is conscious and unconscious. What is the criterion of consciousness? Shankaracharya asked them. You are using big words. That is how they argue. You will see Shankaracharya's commentary. You will say like that. You are using big words, my friend. But first tell me, what is the criterion of consciousness? So Sankhya says, what is the criterion? A mental state is conscious because its existence is self-revealing. I am happy. I don't need anyone to come and tell me I am happy. I am sad. I don't need any other person to tell me I am sad. My mental state is self-revealing. It tells me whether I am happy or sad. So the criterion of consciousness is that it is self-revealing. So now the question comes, Shankaracharya says, who told you that the external world is also not self-revealing? When we see a pot, is not the pot revealing itself? When we see any object in the universe, are not these objects revealing themselves? So this power of appearing before us, it is called in Sanskrit bhati. This power of appearing, Shankaracharya says, is common to both internal as well as external forms of existence. Therefore, it can be argued that existence which is common to both the internal and external world must possess the power of revealing itself. Therefore, it is reasonable to state that absolute existence is of the nature of self-revealing consciousness. In fact, a little reflection shows that self-revelation may even be taken as the factor which differentiates non-existence from existence. What is non-existent can never reveal itself to us, like flower in the air. Akasha Kusuma, that is the stock example used by Advaitha. Akasha Kusuma, flower in the air. Has it ever revealed itself to anybody? Because it is non-existent. So non-existent and existent means actually what is self-revealing and what is not self-revealing. So if you say that the external objects are not self-revealing, you are wrong. We say that they also reveal themselves. So they are also conscious. And therefore, they are of the same cause, which is pure consciousness and existence. But Sankhyas or any other school will not admit defeat so easily. So they say, you say that, yes, everything reveals itself, even in the external world. But there are many things which we cannot see. For example, sitting here, we cannot see what is beyond the trees and all that. So they say that if it was self-revealing, then all objects in the universe would reveal themselves to us all the time. But we see that they are not revealing themselves. So in reply, he says that they are revealing themselves. But problem is the obstruction. Because when the obstruction is removed, you will see those objects are there. So it is not that the sun disappears, but a cloud comes before the sun. So when the cloud goes, if you remove the object, suppose you remove the trees, you will see what is behind the trees. And then they ask, okay, then what about the illusory objects? I see a snake in a rope. You say that the snake is revealing itself, but actually the snake is not there. So what is your answer? So as to this objection, the reply is that even in illusion, there is existence underlying the illusory experience also. The snake may not be present in the rope, but it actually exists somewhere, which is in your mind. So you cannot deny existence in any experience, external or internal. And this conclusion is also strengthened by another consideration, that wherever there is appearance of existence, there is awareness invariably present. If existence is there, awareness is also has to be there. Even in an external object, say clay, which appears to us, if clay is presented to us, then there will be an awareness of clay in our mind. That is called, clay is called in Sanskrit mrita. So it is called mrita buddhi. Mrita buddhi means I am aware that some clay is there before me. Now when the clay becomes a pot, our thinking changes. That is called ghata buddhi. Then our buddhi says that it is not clay, it is ghata, it is pot. There is a pot in front of you. So all this shows that wherever there is existence, there has to be awareness also. An imaginary object is just the idea of the object, and so is the illusory object. But awareness pervades that idea also. So awareness is pervading all forms of existence. You cannot deny that. So by a series of arguments like these, Shankaracharya logically reaches the conclusion. And of course, in the scriptures, in the arguments, we will see that he also quotes the authority of the scriptures in support of his view. So he reaches the conclusion that the world originates from Brahman, which is first of all pure existence. There cannot be anything which is not existing and of which we are aware of. It is impossible. Secondly, because existence has to be the precursor of awareness, that reality is also aware. That is called in Sanskrit chit. So it has to be existing, pure existence, sat, and it has to be awareness itself, therefore chit. And of course that is also Ananda, so that from now we can understand what this term denotes. Sat, chit and Ananda. So though Brahman, existence, consciousness, Sat, Chit, appears in all our experience, Or actually, Shankaracharya says, in all that appears to exist, the forms vary. There is no problem. In one form of experience, suppose we are dreaming, that form is contradicted by another state, which is the waking state. So, contradicted form is regarded less real than the form by which it is contradicted. When we wake up, we find that while dreaming it is okay, we think that the dream is real, but when we wake up, we find that the dream was not real. So, dreaming has been contradicted by the waking state. But in spite of such contradictions among the different forms, existence as such remains uncontradicted. You cannot, nobody can say, I don't exist. So when we disbelieve an illusory serpent, we only deny that the existence there is of the form, we only deny the existence of the form of the serpent, but do not deny that there is some existence. I am seeing a snake in a rope. When I see clearly, I see the rope only, I don't see the snake. So we can say that seeing the snake was an illusory perception, but we cannot deny that it did not exist. Even when we deny a dream object, something we have in a dream, I may have been the king of England. So we can deny the existence of that, not the existence, we can deny the dream object, but we do not deny that the experience or idea existed. Otherwise, how could you experience that dream? And when we think of a time or place where nothing exists, we are thinking of the existence of at least that time or place. You cannot get out of it. It is impossible. So existence in some form or the other is as wide as thought. We cannot even conceive of the absence of existence. We cannot deny it. So therefore, this universe, pure existence, pure consciousness, is thus the only thing whose contradiction is unthinkable. Shankara calls it therefore the supreme reality. Sri Ramakrishna says, God is the only truth. Everything else is untrue. This is the significance. Everything can be contradicted in some time or the other. But that which is at the back of everything, which is the cause of everything, cannot be contradicted ever. So, Shankaracharya thus logically arrives at this conception of reality as that which persists uncontradicted through all forms of existence, at all places, at all times. Everything else in the world can be contradicted at some point of the other. Dream is contradicted in the waking state. Waking state is also contradicted when we go beyond, when we have the highest experience. A pot is also contradicted by a cloth. So Shankaracharya says a very strange thing. We will not go into it today. I think you've had enough. So very interesting thing he says, that a pot is contradicted by a cloth. Now this seems very silly. But how can a pot be contradicted by a cloth? What does it mean? So 5 minutes are there, we can just finish that also. So this puzzling assertion, this is has been told by Shankaracharya in one of his commentaries. So apparently it makes no sense. Pot is being contradicted by a cloth, cloth is being contradicted by a table, table is being contradicted by a chair. What does this mean? It seems so silly. Shankaracharya says no. All the objects of the world which have forms, they actually contradict and falsify each other. How? Shankaracharya says there are two types of contradictions. First contradiction we know, we have seen many times, the perception of a snake where there is a rope. So, stronger or better perception is the rope. So, the perception of a snake has been contradicted by it. Actual perception is here corrected. Actual experience has been corrected by another actual experience. So, by the second experience, we know that the first one was not true. This is one kind of contradiction. But there is another type of contradiction. And many thinkers of the West, like Kant and all, they have also accepted this. This is called a logical contradiction. What does this consist of? This consists in actual experience being proved inconsistent by thought. Actual experience, it is proved inconsistent by thought, or one thought is contradicting another thought. I know it is now going slightly above. So just to finish this, afterwards we can review it again. See, why does Shankaracharya say that a pot contradicts a cloth and a cloth contradicts a pot? We have previously seen how change, which is actually perceived, is unreal because it is found inconsistent by logical thinking. Change cannot be real. We have seen by logic. So in a similar manner, it is shown that the perception of a pot is logically inconsistent with the nature of reality. In simple words, what Shankaracharya means to say that when you see a pot, that is not real. That is not the reality. If you see a cloth, that is not the reality. If you say that the pot is the reality, then you contradicted the very next moment, because the very next moment you are seeing the reality as a cloth. So which is true? He says neither is true. Neither is the reality the pot, nor is the reality the cloth. Both are false. So what is happening? Your perception of reality as a pot is being contradicted by your perception of reality as a cloth. See, experience of the truly real, pure existence is not only not actually contradicted at any time. It is logically uncontradictable, pure existence if we experience. Contradiction is unthinkable, we have seen that. But the experience of any particular thing, the experience of existence as a pot or a cloth, does not possess such an uncontradictable nature. On the contrary, the very fact that existence is experienceable in different forms keeps the door of the possibility open that what is experienced to have one form right now may be experienced to have a different form later. And this is a contradiction. That the pot may be a jar another moment, it may be a cup at the third moment. So all these forms, perception of all these forms are contradicting each other, are they not? Because none of them is the reality. So anything which is contradicted by a later experience cannot be true. And because it is not true, it is contradicting each other. So actually all the forms which we see in the world, thinking them to be pure existence, they are contradicting each other because one form is contradicting each other. Forms can never be stable. Yeah, but this is too much, I know. So we will just end here. These subjects are discussed by very advanced students of philosophy. So naturally, we have to take that into account. These are very subtle things. But since we are discussing Vedanta, we have to discuss these. Slowly, all these things will become clear to us. And this is just an introduction. So what will be the real thing? Anyway, let us stop here today. So, after creating a Shanti, I am chanting Shanti mantras. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna